Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What's going on, good people? Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Man, I haven't been live in a minute. It's been a long time coming. Happy New Year's to everybody. I see. Let me just get myself situated here. You guys know I'm an OG around these parts, and I be sometimes forgetting how to do what I do. Guys, go in the comments. Let me know if you can hear me. I got a lot to talk about, right? We were obviously in the middle of the playoffs, and sounds good. Good stuff. Good stuff. Appreciate you for saying that. Well, listen, guys, we are officially in the off season. I think it's interesting to see how things are manifesting as it relates to the playoffs, as it relates to our team. A lot of people are having questions about some of the portal entries, and I think we're going to dive into that, right? I'd love to dive into the 4 games we watched on yesterday and Wednesday night. I think it's important to see the style of football that's being played today. And there's some irony there. The irony that I see is I feel like the game went into a space where probably the last decade, you saw a style of football where RPO, run pass options, really put second and third level defenders in the compromising situations. I'm talking to the Sooner fan base here. So games that come to mind for me, if you guys remember about a decade ago playing against K-State, and they did a really good job of that really slow mesh between the quarterback and the running back, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And then he pulled the ball, and they killed us one year in Norman, in fact. Tight end, right? Wide open because our safeties are flying in. They literally see run. And that run pass option, sometimes you'd have offensive linemen 6, 7, 8, 9 yards down the field. And, just the reffing of that style of football hadn't caught up. Now there's very clear and defined measures in place on what is defined as, illegal man downfield. Also, teams are copying the NFL way of playing. And if you notice the NFL game, if you remember the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady years, the Drew Brees years, a ton of bombs, right? 1v1, a lot of underneath mixed coverages, single high safeties, and teams would play cover 2, but they'd rob a lot more. And you saw a lot of guys catching 30, 40, 50-yard TDs, 300, 350-yard days by quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes' first years, right? With the cheetah and all that good stuff. You notice the NFL game has started playing more umbrella coverage. And what his college team started doing, they started having safeties at 13, 14, 15 yards, read, run through pass so that you don't give up the big play, right? The college game is emulating the pro game. And so you're starting to see in these playoffs, and I'm going to really hammer this, the importance of having really strong, really smart, really physical second level defenders. I don't think the idea of having a strong defensive line has changed. I think we have all clearly seen, and we can just speak for our own teams, the most successful OU teams forever. I would say since the Selman brothers in the 70s, right? That front 4 can wreak havoc, can get to the quarterback, can stop the run without a lot of additional pressure needed. Sure, we want to bring outside dogs, a slot, outside or edge or overhang defender, or we want to bring inside dogs or cross dogs, right? Cross the A gap and cross over the center, get them confused, or their man side versus their zone side blocking, all that. But like the game is starting to go back to a game, a style of play. And I know I'm biased, guys, you guys know me, but I'm just saying a Roy Lee type player sometimes can now be the best player on the field like that was a quarter century ago. Those 2,000 years, if you had a versatile Willie backer, Roy was a linebacker. We'll always consider him an all-time great. And obviously his title was, strong safety, but he was our box safety. We were in a 4-2-5 more than because he was a backer, right? I'm watching Miami, man. I'm watching Oregon. And you know who doesn't get props? Because they couldn't move the ball at all on offense, but Texas Tech defense was legit. Those guys, that front 7, I think they're a team that's used to being, hamburger helper, right? And this year they say, hey, man, we're going to do a filet mignon style, right? NIL investment. I think they feel pretty good about being a filet mignon team moving forward. And that defense came to play. The offense was, right? The Big 12 showed that it still, isn't the caliber on the offensive side of the field. But I don't think Texas Tech has anything to owe anybody on the defensive side of the ball. Their front gave me pause. And again, I want to talk about some things I'm hearing people talking about. Oh man, people are comparing our front versus some of the fronts they've seen in these qualifying quarterfinals. And I want to pause some of the concerns and some of the fear and saying, oh, these teams are head and shoulders better than ours. No, they play a different style, and we'll discuss that. I think we specifically and intentionally need to discuss Alabama. I had to literally I didn't cut it off, but I had to kind of stop posting on my Twitter because of the enormous amount of people who were, I guess I could say, I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but we were disagreeing, right, about the Alabama game and the implications of the play. If you watched my last 10 thoughts, you know I went into probably a 30-minute soapbox episode about the play. And I just want you guys to see that Alabama team that showed up against Indiana was the same Alabama team who we kicked their teeth in for a quarter two. The one difference, the huge difference, right? And everybody says, oh, Coach Venables doesn't have killer instinct. Oh, and by the way, Coach V got to hold that L. I am not a Coach V apologist. If I believe he's the man that's going to get us to where we need to go. But Coach V wasn't the one who on 3rd and 3 tries to throw a scramble pass 40 yards downfield to our fullback, with all due respect. And we're not going to go into an argument about that today. I promise you, I'm not going to spend an hour going back and forth with people. Those who believe Mateer should have made the throw and X should have caught it, salute to you. I vehemently disagree. Quarterback has the most value in the team. They have the most impact on plays. Why up 2 possessions with 4 minutes left in the quarter with a first down staring you in the face, which, by the way, he could have potentially scored. He's that good an athlete running with the football off schedule. No one will ever get me to buy in or believe that Mateer made the right play. And I don't mean by the standpoint of he couldn't have made that play 100%. And X could have caught the ball 100%. And we could have scored a touchdown on that play 100%. That's never been my argument. That's not my concern. That's not what pisses me off. What pisses me off is being in meetings. I was in meetings with Coach Venables and obviously Bob and other folk who say, guys, in this particular situation, would you prefer to right, throw for or hit a home run potentially, but there's a likelihood you could strike out, or B, hit another single? You're up 5 runs. You've got 2 runners on, hit another single where maybe someone doesn't score, but you've got the bases loaded and their ace is already tired. And we know their bullpen sucks ass, right? Which do you take? Listen, I'm in those meetings 100%. You take the single. You take the single because the likelihood of hitting a home run versus popping out, missing, whatever is much higher than the guaranteed single. And so I'm not going to spend a ton of time there, but I am going to say Indiana showed us that if you get Alabama down, which is exactly what I said and a lot of other people said, jump on them early, let them know they don't belong. They had just gotten their ass kicked in the SEC championship. We beat their ass in Bama, and we were beating their ass in Norman. All we have to do, it's really 1 or 2 more haymakers. And why would you put all your eggs in one basket? When I think about that play, it pisses me off. It double pissed me off yesterday because we saw, what did Indiana do? Out fundamental them, and they didn't stop. I don't even hate on the fact that Alabama made those 4th down conversions on their last possession, right? Which, by the way, if the defense gets to stop, I think the game's over too. But I don't think it's the defense fault per se that on 4th down they make some plays. I'm upset with McKenzie. If you remember, I'm talking about Kobe and how he missed that play where he has no reason to miss it. And then, of course, now he's in the portal. We'll talk about him. But it's still on the offense. We're up 10. There's 4 minutes left in the half. We've picked up 2 first downs. The clock's running. The first is in hand. Take the first. Check the first. Right, exactly. Indiana just continued to choke their neck. If we take that first down, we just keep our hand on their neck. If we go down and score, kick a field goal, we're up 10, 13 points, whatever it is, and they don't get another possession, and we don't fumble the ball, and we don't get a pick six, and they're not going into it at a halftime with a 0-0 score, essentially, the game's a different game. Did anybody notice the stat? Who watched that game in its entirety yesterday? I watched the game. Did anybody see the stat that they talked about DeBoer at Alabama, what his record was when his team was failing at halftime? Did anybody see that stat before I tell it to you? Because it continues to confirm for me why you don't go for a home run. Did anybody see the stat? I'll just tell you guys. Since DeBoer's been the head coach at Alabama, they were 0-6 when they were losing at halftime. They were 0-6. They were 0-6, not 16. 0-6. At halftime against Indiana, they were down, 14-3 or 21-3? I don't remember if it was 14 or 20. No. They were down 17, right? I think they're down 17-0 or whatever it was. Here's the point. If we don't try to throw that home run, but we possess the ball, we never have a muffed punt. There's no need for us to try to score again after a pick six. So we never have the pick six. Do you realize if we go in with the lead, DeBoer has never proven he can win a game since he's been at Alabama when they weren't tied or ahead? Anyway, he's 0-7 now. They went in at the half, down whatever they were down. And the person who brought it up spoke to the fact that, when they played Oklahoma, they had tied it up at the half. Totally different outlook. Down 3, down 7, down 10, down 13 versus it's a tie game. We're on their court. We've kind of seen what their crowd can do. We've kind of seen them come out the gates and they've given us some back. Game. Stats from that game. I think Alabama rushed for 23 yards the entire game. Ty Simpson, if you guys watched my 10 thoughts, I was pretty pissed off at how he was like, I'm the man. I'm a big dog. He literally was alluding to the fact that he should have been in the Heisman. But he didn't even finish the game, right? Karma, man. Karma, right? Karma's going to come back and have their say in how things work. But we're going to talk about that game. Not just that I just think it's very confirming to, by the way, I probably had, I had one of my posts where I posted a video. It's like 80,000 impressions on my Twitter. I'd say 60 to 70% of the people were in agreement. And I'd even say 10 to 15% of the people, once they understood what I was saying, I was not saying Mateer made a bad play. I was saying the option he took was extremely risky. And because of the risk, when you throw the ball to a tailback, they might drop the ball, let alone your big burly, right? Your big one, let alone on a scramble, let alone, guys, did you know he was supposed to run a wheel? He was running a wheel, but because he scrambled, he did scramble drill and try to get across his face. But like the kids never ran the route before. That's a very risky play when you've got the first down in front of you. How about Oregon, Texas Tech? Right, we're gonna dive into that. Ole Miss, Georgia. I think this playoff season for the rest of the playoffs, I think Ole Miss might be my team. I don't like Georgia, I don't like Oregon. Which one of my best friends used to be their co-offensive coordinator and receiver coach. He's now the receiver coach at the Cowboys. So I have no reason to cheer for Oregon. So I'm going to pass on those guys. Indiana, obviously the Cinderella story, but I just feel like they're on Buddy's nuts a little too hard all of a sudden. Kignetty. Like I'm saying, I get it. He's a Saban disciple, but like all of a sudden he's the best coach ever. And what he has done is remarkable. For sure, right? I don't want to take away what he's done or minimize what he's done, but it's kind of a little over the top. And I know the media today, they're doing things for ratings and views, but I wouldn't mind Indiana cooking something up. I don't want to see Oregon win. Miami, I'm a Sooner, right? In what world do we root for Miami? I was rooting for Miami to beat Ohio State, though. 100%. Reading from Miami to beat Ohio State. And I just think it's interesting to see Ohio State get out physical. I think it's interesting to see everybody talking about the Big Ten, which the Big Ten still has 2 in the Final Four. That's pretty legit. Oregon and Indiana, that's pretty legit. And Indiana being the only team in 2 years who had a bye to get the win. How crazy is that? 7 out of 8 teams who were the top 4 seeds in the past 2 years have lost their first game because right, they didn't have a game to play versus the people who are coming fresh off a game the week before. I don't think college football is like the NFL where the bye is so essential because of attrition. I do think college football is way more important to be fresh and being game ready. And obviously, I think the playoffs are bearing that out. We even heard Oregon say, if you guys remember, I think last year Oregon was the 1 seed. And they said this year, we literally want to be the 5 seed. They want to have a home game that first week because they want the advantage of having home field advantage, but also they want the advantage of having played against an inferior opponent, but having a game to play. So I think that's interesting as well. And I, my thought, and what do I know? I've actually been getting some insider information about the Sooners even, and I may share a little bit of that here. But I do believe, based upon what we're seeing, don't be surprised if they go to 16 teams between Texas and Notre Dame complaining that they didn't get in. And of course, I would even say James Madison and Tulane getting their tails kicked again, right? Where it's kind of like, dang, we put in 2 of the outside of the Power 4 conference teams in. And once again, they show they don't even deserve to be in the playing field. But then also Texas and Notre Dame, Texas opting out, and Notre Dame opting out, and Texas winning against Michigan. I think that side of the coin suggests that we open up 4 more spots, but the other side probably does too. I think it's pretty clear to all the college football teams that it's probably a disadvantage to be a 1 through 4 seed. And if I'm a 1 seed, I probably would prefer to play the 16 ranked team at home versus sitting down and having a bye. You know what I'm saying? So I think both sides of that coin, some of the blue bloods being left out, by the way, Texas ain't a blue blood. They're a light blue blood, just FYI. But I Notre Dame's a blue blood for sure. But some of the blue bloods being left out on one side of the coin, and then on the other side of the coin, the top seeded teams, again this year, I believe 3 out of 4, right? Ohio State lost. Texas Tech lost, right? And then, of course, Georgia lost. The big boys who didn't have to play the week before, it wasn't so much of an advantage to have 1 lesser game. I would say Oregon came ready to play. I would say Miami, after that barn burner, well, it wasn't a barn burner, it was kind of a snooze fest, but after the game against A&M, ready to play. Right? I think I wouldn't be surprised if not this actual next up and coming season, in 2 seasons, I bet you the field is 16, and I bet you the 1 through 8 seeds get a home game, but everybody plays, so that the teams that are the higher, or the number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 seeds don't feel like they're at a disadvantage, because I do think that's kind of a disadvantage. College football, I got to tell you, I didn't like bye weeks unless we were beat up. If you got some momentum, right, let's tailor it. And then last but not least, guys, I officially finished the book. You know what I might do? I have a website for the book, crimsonredoctober.com. So I'm on a campaign, and I'll just say it, screw it, right? I want to be a Amazon bestseller. And so there's a formula you need to follow to do it. And I'm not afraid to say it. What I need is I've done over 100 and some odd pre-sales. 200 people are going to get a signed autograph version of the book. I'm going to sign it and before we ship it out. But what I need now, and I just learned this, I need 50 reviews. And I'm not going to tell people to guarantee a 5-star, but I think it's 5-star material. If you're an OU fan, let me tell you, if you're an OU fan and you read the book, I guarantee you're going to get value, context, and stories you've never heard before. It's going to connect some dots on things you've never thought possible. And obviously it's going to be a good read, right? It's literally about our last championship season. But I think what I might do is, especially for, the Barry and Mac subscribing community, maybe 25. I will give 25 people now. I'm not going to give you the actual book. What I will probably do is give you a PDF. The book is over 100 pages, which is crazy, right? I was initially planning to do like a 50-page book. It's 122 pages. It is. I don't want to give the sequence of the book away, but the book explains what we did to prep for Red October because it was extremely intentional. There's a story. All right. In fact, there's an excerpt, guys. If you haven't heard this before, go to crimsonredoctober.com, and it's a landing page, and on the page, a capture page. On the page, if you put some basic information, it gives you 2 excerpts from the book, and one of the excerpts explains it's a what's that called? A cliffhanger. It's a cliffhanger. I'm not giving you the money away, but it is a cliffhanger to get you very clear on kind of like how if things happen. And guys, the book is 100% fact. Now it's from my lens, right? So there might be somebody saying they go exactly like that, but there's no fabrication, there's no exaggerations. I remember the plays, I remember the coverages. I went back and watched the games to make sure the information was accurate. Like, I don't know, there's just something in my head that helps me remember the stuff. But I will probably take 25 subscribers, and I don't know how to do it, so I got to ask somebody. But between now and next week, I'm going to figure out how to get 25 of you guys. And all I want you to do, for those of you who decide to do it, the reason I'm doing a PDF, because hopefully you read the PDF and want the book and you'll buy the book, but I will send the PDF to you. But the only caveat is you've got to give it a review. I'm not going to tell you what to put. I think that's lame to say, hey, you got to give me 5-star. But I want to give you a sequence of instructions. All right. Give yourself 2 or 3 days. It's a quick read. 122 pages. It's nothing crazy. I think it's a fast read. All right. But man, I'm going to see if I can get 25 to 30 of you to read the book, leave a review, and get me set up. I'm going to do my pre-sales through the 15th of January. I'm going to probably drop the book in the month of February, and some crazy stuff going on. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but some people have read the book and yeah, there's some potential plans over and beyond this book. So pretty cool stuff to see. But we'll talk about that too. Last but not least, we'll do Q&A. I'm 22 minutes in, 50 people on live, which is super crazy. I didn't even tell anybody. By the way, let me speak to my partner. Not to get too much in Barry's business, but he's been ill. I apologize. We didn't do a post-game pod. I did do for the Alabama game. I did do my 10 thoughts. He and I spoke. He had some serious throat issues happening, strep throat and some laryngitis type stuff. And so I think he was ill for like a week. And so it was kind of redundant by that time to have a post-game pod, but pray for him. He's also going through some transitions. He spoke to some of the things that's happened business-wise for him. His business is growing and having a lot of success there. His personal life, he's having some transitions. It's not my business to share, so I'll let him share as he sees fit. If you follow him on social media, you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm holding down the fort until further notice. It's all good. I don't know that he probably still needs some prayers. I think he feels better now in terms of his illness, but he's got some good things happening. Definitely good news. I would say way more so than bad news. And then last but not least, we'll do Q&A. All right. My goals for 2026 is I am going to start. I said it before. I'm committed to doing it. DMack's locker room. Every week, I'm going to break down one game from the 2025 season, 5 plays, ask the community for plays they want me to queue up. And it's going to be a pre-recorded video so that it's edited correctly. I'm going to go live once a week. That's going to be a hard ask, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go live once a week. And whatever the conversation may be in the off season, I may start talking about what off season's like. I might start talking about the nutritional things they're doing. I have 5 or 6 recently graduated players who can come in and give us some context about what's happening in the program today. So you don't have to always hear my stale stuff. I know you guys like the championship year, but I know you guys are really interested in hearing what's more current. So I've got some recently graduated guys who are going to come in. Obviously, I got some of the OGs who come in and share some stories. And I'm going to be starting a newsletter, free of charge. But I just know I'm on a couple of the message boards, and there's just certain people who don't like the video. They would prefer written. They like to see it in a written, transcribed way. And so, guys, passion project, man. I love it. This is a fun thing for me. And I think you guys are pretty aware of the fact that like 3 years in, I actually make money doing this, which is crazy. It's not any money out of you guys' pocket, but I just appreciate you guys tuning in. YouTube and sponsors and things of that nature, they support what we're doing. And so my aim is to grow this brand and to be a value add to Sooner Nation, to be a voice for Sooner Nation that tells the things raw, the way I see them. My experience within the program and in coaching football, I have an extensive amount of coaching and or analyzing experience. And so I'm going to share my thoughts. And so long as you guys say, hey, Mac, we want to tune in and pay attention, gosh dang it, I'm going to continue to do it. And so hopefully Barry's life gets in a little bit more order so we can tag team that. But even if it doesn't, I'm moving on. The show goes on. So anyway, let's do the playoffs first. All right. Let me pull my handy dandy. By the way, I'm an Android guy. I'm a Samsung guy. You're not going to catch me with an iPhone. If you got something negative to say, don't say it, because it'll derail this whole live and I will make fun of the iPhone community. But the playoff games, quarterfinals, first game, Wednesday night, Ohio State, Miami. I watched that game. And let me ask you guys this, right? You guys, this is great football time. I would say probably the best time of year. Tomorrow, my 49ers take on Seattle. Prayers up to us. Have you seen that 49er defense? The worst defense I think I've ever seen the 49ers have ever. But find a way to win this game. We have the number 1 seed and we play at home all the way through the Super Bowl, assuming we get there. Obviously, yesterday was phenomenal games, right? I thought it was a phenomenal game watching Indiana and Alabama. That tickled my soul. I think the Ole Miss and Georgia game was great, and then also Texas Tech and Oregon. Interesting game. I think that was probably the least appealing, entertaining game for me because one side of the football was just outclassed, and that was the Texas Tech offense. But when you talk about Wednesday night and we hear about Ohio State, and, they always try to put Ohio State in the category of like Bama when they were having their run. And I get it, but I always, and again, I'm talking to my Sooner faithful. So can I say something? Do you guys know when Ohio State won their natty in 2002, they hadn't won one prior since 64? Did you guys know that? I didn't know that. Like, Ohio State, in my opinion, is a blue blood. And I would like, the team that I have the biggest axe to grind with in terms of the blue blood status, because it's like Johnny come lately, recency bias, is Georgia. Like, prior to Kirby Smart, Georgia was Clemson prior to Dabo. You know what I'm saying? Like, when was Georgia ever a factor in the Florida State, Nebraska days, or in the 80s when it was Miami, Oklahoma, Penn State type teams, or even in the 90s? Like, no, Champ Bailey was, you know what I'm saying? You guys had good players, but like Georgia, they try to include you guys in the blue bloods because in the last 15 years, I think they won 3 titles, I believe is what they won. But I'm like, that's not a blue blood. And so you do your digging, right? And you look up these other blue bloods. You look up Michigan. You look up Ohio State. And Ohio State has the pedigree you need. They've got the 10-win seasons. They got the All-Americans. They got the conference championships. They've got the rivalry game. And they've got natties. They got Heismans, right? So, like, I'm not hating on Ohio State. But, like, if we're going to have a conversation about, like, the bluest of blue bloods, the way I look at it, it's like Alabama. And see, don't get me started, because if you say, and you can't take Nick Saban out. Nick Saban did what he did. I think he won 6 in Alabama and 1 in LSU. Ridiculous. 7 natties is ridiculous. But prior to Nick's run, we were par with them. We were ahead of them in a lot of categories. I'm talking about Oklahoma. Prior to the Nick Saban run, if Bob wins his 2 or 3 others, if Lincoln doesn't do a squib kick against Georgia and we get to play that national championship game, guys, we could have 4 or 5 more. We didn't win them, so I'm not part of the what happened was community. My point is, they talk about Ohio State like they are just there with Bama. They're not. They won it last year, fair and square. By the way, I believe the way you win a natty now is worth like 2. just the gauntlet of what you've got to go through now, beating really good teams in consecutive weeks, teams from different parts of the country, teams with different styles of play. I love it. By the way, we still win the Natty if there's a damn playoff that year, our year. The only caveat is Josh Heupel's bad elbow. That's the caveat, right? But if we're the 1 seed, we get a bye, right? And then we've got to play 3 games, and we get to play the lowest seed. I got to go back and look who the 8, 9, 10 seed were those years. But my point is, I think that the playoffs are really good. Now, the other side of the coin is, and I'm an ex-player, there's got to be some gatekeeping going around with NIL and portal. Some of the things that I'm hearing now, and I have a lot of friends who have sons who are in high school going to college and or have sons who are in college in the deal. It's literally a free-for-all. And some of the numbers that I'm hearing second teamers or red shirts are garnering, it's ridiculous. Some of the stuff I'm hearing, I'll talk about it. The agents, like these kids have agents whose only job is to maximize dollars. If that's the type of agent a family wants. So it doesn't matter how good your coach is, the type of culture they cultivated. It doesn't matter if you were a 2 because you're a freshman and the 1 was an All-American who's getting ready to go to the league. The agent doesn't care about any of that stuff. And the school is promising to pay you, double what you got paid last year to be a starter. But the agent is going to 5 other schools, seeing if someone will offer you 2 times that, 3 times that, 4 times that. Like, these kids have agents that's their only job. So you've got universities that are doing everything right. You've got coaches that are building a program with quality depth and really maximizing and diversifying, right, the skill sets kids are going to bring to the table. Doesn't matter. I'd say 20 to 30% of the kids that are leaving, it does not matter. Their agent is moving in a direction for the family who says, hey, the team in school is second priority. First priority, where are we going to get the maximized dollars? Isn't that interesting? Very interesting to me. Anyway, I digress. The better team won on Wednesday. Do you guys agree? Chat, I watched that game, and Ohio State couldn't block the front 4 for Miami. In fact, the second and third quarters, the first quarter Miami dominated, and the fourth quarter Miami dominated. Do you guys see what happened in the second and third quarter that gave Ohio State a chance? Did you guys see what they did? Which, by the way, it was one of our biggest weaknesses. I'm talking about the Sooners. In order to keep themselves in the game, Ohio State had to go to 12 and 13 personnel. They could not block 3 and 4. The 2 DNs at Miami, they couldn't stay in their 11 personnel. The tackle, the left nor right tackle, could consistently keep the guy in front of them. They had to go double tight, and what it ended up turning into is running the football and try to play keep away. Right, and it was interesting to just see Miami literally out-hit Ohio State. And I heard a lot of people say, man, Miami's defense is miles ahead of ours. All right, I'm on OU Insider. Shout out to Parker and Brandon. Those 2 guys do a great job over there. But I'm on OU Insider, the Rivals page, and there's a thread. And one poster was like, man, I'm watching these games, and OU, I thought our defense was good. Our defense is nowhere near some of these defenses. And I have to disagree. All right. And I do that because our defense is not designed, and I've said it as many times on our podcast, our defense is not designed to do what some of the defenses otherwise are designed to do. Miami's is a very easy example. Miami says, we're going to take our front 4 and our 2. If you watch that game, if you get a chance, go back and watch it. Their 2 DNs started in a 9 technique, which means outside shade to the tackles, went to a wide 9, which means a man outside the tackles, to an extra wide 9, which means you're at a 45-degree angle, at a straight beeline to the quarterback, right? And you're like 2 men outside the tackle. And the tackle, it's literally a race to the spot. Can the tackle get to the spot before you cross his face, right? You'll never see us do that. You'll never see us do that. All right. BV likes to play controlled chaos. BV likes to put an offense in a position where there is no given. Because when Miami said, okay, we're playing chess and we're going to run a wide 9, or we're going to run an extra wide 9, then Ohio State said, you do that, I'll one-up you. And they started going overhang sniffers, tight ends, and they ran right underneath it. Take 3 and 4 out of the play. Now you've got a box of 2 D tackles and 3 backers. So you've got 5 on 7. You just run up the middle, and those guys can never get into the action. Now you're playing 9 on 7 on offense, right? And that's how Ohio State was able to take control of the game. BV never wants to give an offense the option to do that. And so I just thought it was pertinent to say, because we had a long conversation about on OU Insider. People are like, oh my God, but like, yeah, those defenses are set up to kill you. And those backers know the trigger now. But get beat. Somebody makes a mistake, and it's a huge play. Versus BV's offense or defense that says we're never going to go in an extra wide 9. Very rarely do we allow our DNs to just pin their ears back and chase quarterback. And if you accidentally give up contain, we're going to figure it out. BV wants controlled chaos. If you're C gap or edge defender, you've got to stay a half man outside. And as you rush the quarterback, you got to make sure you don't overrun him to get the quarterback a lane. If you're the backer, you've got flat to curl, and you got to sink and carry number 2, right? The lot more, I told the guys on OU Insider, it's an intellectual player that can be successful pre-snap and during the snap of the ball. And to go after, after the snap of the ball. And so it's just a different scheme. Have there been times where I wished we would be more aggressive? I said it on our pod. Like, man, I wish we would let Wine and RMT and Okoye and, right, MJJ, the rest of those guys pin their ears back and go chase quarterback. But I also understand we didn't have a very competent offense where if we make a mistake and we're down 10, right, we have the ability to come back. We needed to play in a way where the defense could suffocate another team's offense without a lot of risk of a big play. Of course, our secondary wasn't as good as it could be. But I just wanted to make sure we spoke to that, because how fun was it to watch Miami's defense? But they play a different style. I don't even think necessarily even caliber. I could be wrong. But I think RMT could do exactly what their DNs did if he was asked to do what their defensive ends are asked. Does that make sense to everybody? I think Wine could be a guy, if asked, hey, man, get the quarterback. 80% of what we're asking you to do is get the quarterback. Use your instincts on the way there. If you see something to sniff it out, go get it. But Wine has a lot more responsibilities, especially on early downs, than just get ball. And, Marcus Strong hurt my feelings. And Mackie, why? I don't get it. Why would we do that? NFL teams like BV players. NFL teams know a BV linebacker, a BV 3 technique, a BV defensive end is well versed on how to play football and not just be a defensive mercenary. So, for your recruits, for your players in development, and then obviously for the guys who succeed in the system, it's a very clear proof of concept that not only are you athletic enough to make plays, you're intelligent enough to play a smart man's game. So while, right, we say, oh, man, it was fun to watch Miami. Same, by the way, Texas Tech is the same. Texas Tech, go get the football. We got better players than you, and their D line, by the way, their D line was legit. I did not know their DNs was that good. I watched Tech a few times, but I never really watched them closely like I did yesterday. I have no complaints about their defense. Those boys can play. Now, I will say this. I think Oregon's freshman corner might be one of the best in America. We've got a really, really, really good freshman corner. Cortland Guillory is a guy who's a stud, but their freshman got 6 picks, and he got 2 in that game. And he recovered a fumble. Kid's a stud, right? So really good football to watch. But I enjoyed watching Miami win. Strong is the one. I'm going to get to that here after we talk about the games. Strong's the one guy that I really believe we are going to miss. But I have intel on Strong. I happen to know who recruited him. I happen to know what some of his family's biggest requirements were when he was coming in. And I don't care. I feel comfortable saying this. I know that money was a thing for him. Here's what I know. He was going to be minimally the number 3 DB or D tackle. Stone and Jaden are coming back. Strong was going to be a bona fide starter, right? Replacing Dom, replacing Grayson. OU was prepared to pay him handsomely, but Strong has an agent who was shopping for the highest bidder. So again, and this is firsthand information that I know. All right, stud player who was coming into his own. Kind of sucks, right? The NIL era, the portal era puts coaches in a dilemma because you want to create, develop players. And BV and his 22 starters, we talked about it, damn 22 starters. You want to give guys playing time. Well, Strong's a guy who got enough playing time to garner the attention of other teams, especially on the defense, the caliber of OU's, and he and his circle leverage that. And are chasing a bigger payday. I don't know if the door is 100% closed. That I do not know. And I don't know what conversation was explicitly said in terms of him deciding to portal. What I do know is he was going to be a starter. And what I do know is when he got recruited, his family, one of their main priorities was the financial space. And the guy, the team he ended up having represent him was one whose primaries was a bag. So deductive reasoning, right? I haven't been digging around what's happening like this actual portal session, but I reached back out to an individual and said, hey man, that whole process wasn't Strong the guy where the conversation was about money and this and that, and the family was worried about this and that, and wasn't he the one who the team of people representing him was? And confirmation was yes. And so I think, I am assuming, but I am telling firsthand information about where his dynamic was coming in, and how that may have shaped why someone who was on one of the top defenses in America coming back as a potential starter in a position where he was going to get paid handsomely because he was going to be a starter now, and handsomely. Let me throw a number at you guys. I'm not going to say the player's name, but I get DMs and information from people directly related to players all the time. There's a kid who was not a starter in the secondary this year. All right, he was not a starter, but he played a lot. And he actually, in my opinion, I think he should be the starting corner going into next year. You might know who I'm talking about just based upon that. He's getting paid $150K a year. I think it's a 2-year deal, $350,000, right? He has never been a starter yet, but I think the team is trying to lock him into what's fair value position. And I don't think he's chasing it. Can somebody else give me $100K? I think he wants to be affiliated with this defense, the opportunity to improve. And then he's going to get paid while he's in college with the opportunity to get paid again in the NFL. That's this player that I'm talking about, who's a DB. It just gives me context to further understand what's happening behind closed doors as it relates to the players. Does that make sense to everybody? And again, I'm not an insider, but what I am saying is these are informations, and this is information that comes across just the people I know around the way. And this is the way the game's being played. So as it relates to Strong, I am not hating. Lord knows if you can go get it and you're worth it, which D tackle is a position that carries a ton of weight. And Oklahoma's D-line is one that now notoriety is pretty clear. Those guys are getting the job done. No freaking way. Did Ohio State get Coleman? I was told today that Corey Coleman was going to go to Texas. Did Coleman get picked? Is that true, guys? Somebody just posted in the chat that Coleman is got landed by Ohio State. Is that true? Can somebody confirm that? I'm obviously not going to look through my phone right now, but I was told Coleman's representative is a UT grad. So anyway, I don't know. And he ain't, if he's not coming to OU, then I don't want to talk about him. But y'all heard it here first. A lot of people be taking our, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people take our props. We speak about stuff months before the bigger whatever folk talk about it. And I'm like, man, we said that a month ago. We was talking about Corey Coleman a month ago. We was talking about Mateer's accuracy a month earlier. We were talking about Foje at tackle a month earlier. We were talking about Fibwechi last season. Now everybody want to act like he a dog. We talked about Kip Lewis as a freshman when you guys tried to tell us he wasn't a good player. I'm not talking about you guys. There's a lot of stuff that you hear on this podcast that you start hearing other places and they try to take credit. It is what it is. Part of the game. I hope Coleman is not going to Ohio State. Oh, okay. Yeah, Chaz, that's what I'm saying. Cam Coleman, I was told today his representatives are UT people and to expect he ends up at UT. Y'all know I hate UT. I'm a Sooner. But can I tell y'all the truth? I think I said this after a Tennessee game, or I think I said after Tennessee. It was either Tennessee or Alabama. Last year, Arch was fool's gold. This coming season, he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in America. Arch has gotten substantially better. I'm a hater, but I also ain't crazy or stupid. The kid got way better and is a A-plus athlete. I mean, he took 2 to the house, 30 yards plus in their bowl game against Michigan. Texas is going to be a problem next year. Texas is going to be a problem. They're going to reload. I saw the portal. They lost a lot of guys. And all I'm saying is Cam Coleman, wow, okay. If he goes to Ohio State, that's actually good for us. We want him to lead the conference. I don't care what no one says. If you're asking me who's the better X receiver, Cam Coleman is better than Jeremiah Smith at X. I think Jeremiah overall, in fact, as I watched him more this year, he's kind of a Z. Tate kind of played their X position more. If you notice, Jeremiah did a lot of the in cuts and the slants and stuff. I mean, he did some outside stuff too, not limiting that. But Tate was the guy who generally ran the post, generally ran the curl, generally ran the fade, which is the X. I think Cam Coleman's the best X in America. I said it in September. I think Jeremiah is probably the most well-rounded receiver where if you put him in the NFL, he could fit anywhere. CeeDee Lamb-esque, I think he's a bigger athlete than CD, but and CD's a better after the catch guy, not in the same hemisphere. But Jeremiah's complete package as a receiver is phenomenal. Cam Coleman as an X is gangster. Period. And I would prefer he go to Ohio State than to Texas or Texas A&M. So who would I choose between? Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. I had to read the whole question. They say, who would you choose between Manning or Mateer? Guys, with all due respect, going into last season, we thought we had the better quarterback and Manning was overrated. And I'll probably get lambasted by a bunch of Sooner fans for saying this because I just got to be honest, I'm not a huge Mateer fan. The whole thumb-knee thing is an athleticism, is a pain threshold thing. It's not a decision-making thing. It's not. I saw Landry Jones go through injuries, and it didn't impact his decision-making. It's probably a bad example in some regards. We know Landry had what we call, quote-unquote, Landry moments. Needless to say, he still was consistently making a ton of right reads. I saw Jason White reinvent himself because of injuries. All right. And I'm not saying apples to apples. What I am saying is there were a lot of opportunities for Mateer to make the plays that were to be made, easy plays. And he missed them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Am I happy? Word on the street is he's coming back. And by the way, screw the playoffs. Let's talk about our team, right? I know word on the street is that he's coming back. And am I mad he's coming back? No. Do I want him to be successful? Yes. But if you ask me in that same breath, does he give us the best chance to win games based upon the 2025 season? I don't say yes. I don't think so. Lord knows I wasn't the biggest Arbuckle apologist. I am not an Arbuckle hater. In fact, Arbuckle kind of proved to us he could draw some stuff up. Mateer didn't execute, guys, at a high enough clip for Oklahoma. And when he And in some instances, right, his accuracy was bad. Everyone wants to say, oh, the playoff game, he did hella good, blah, 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 blah. He did play better in the playoff game. But he's also the primary reason we lost. He's not the only reason. Our punter, what the hell? And our kicker. Dude, you in the grows in, now all of a sudden you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're scared to make a kick. I mean, obviously the defense. But I'm telling you guys, and I've said it a million times, college is a momentum game. The defense started losing. Let me just tell you how it feels to be a 20-year-old on defense, and you are stopping them, and the offense is scoring. And then the first time you don't get a stop, 6 plays later, it's 17-17. I'm just telling you, for a 20-year-old kid, that's crushing. The punter can kick rocks. I know, bro. He killed us. He absolutely killed us. Yeah, we had the best kicker and punter in the SEC, and both of them, right? They came up short in that game. Do you know if our kicker makes all his kicks, the game's different too? Yeah. If I forgot his name, but if our kicker makes his kick, Bama has to play different. It's because we couldn't make the kicks that, we lost the game the way we did. But anyway, I digress. Y'all want to jump into the portal? Right? So we're looking at portal. I'm going to say some names. I know there's some names people are sad about losing. You guys already beat me to it. The only name I am definitively upset about, yeah, Jimmy, our punter. The only name I'm definitively upset about losing is Strong. And obviously, it's not like Strong's a linchpin killer. He wasn't Stone this season. He wasn't Jaden this season. By the way, Jaden, the first half of the season is probably our best D lineman. The second half of the season, Stone's probably our best D lineman, followed very closely by Grayson. Stone and Grayson. Dom was the most heralded and then the least productive of the four, which bodes well for us. And then Strong's a guy who came in, mixed it up, made some plays, right? When the opportunity presented itself, he played well. And it's just, I think more so than anything else, it's that quality depth. It's that program development. Kind of pisses you off to build a program where 7 years ago, Strong never leaves, and he's plugging himself in to be a stud. But in the way the game is played now, even if you develop your guys, you've got to re-recruit them again. And even if you re-recruit them again, their agent might be seeking somebody else who's going to just give them $50,000 or $100,000 more, and it doesn't matter what relationships you established, the trust you established, they're chasing the bag, unfortunately. And so let's go through some of the other portal guys. Receivers, who do we got? We got Daniels leaving. What do you got? I never saw the kid play. And I would also say that I think we talked about the receivers having turnover because we didn't play any of them. I'm glad Jermichael's staying. I'm glad Giovanni seems to be staying. I think Satania stays another year. Satania is a guy who could be a first, second round draft pick if he has a big year. Cavantes, I don't know what's going on. Cavantes, right? That's a guy who I think comes back too. But man, we've got guys who carry on, right? Kearney. I think Raggins hit the portal too, if I remember correctly. But we need those guys to get reps, right? We're recruiting more guys and seeing those guys. Yeah, the offensive line, we got hit pretty hard. Howland quality depth. That one is one that here's what I say about Howland though. We got to remember the game is played like it is today, right? Howland is a guy that someone else in the SEC might say, ooh, that's our starter. But we know he's not good enough to cut the mustard against good competition in the SEC. So although he is quality depth and in another year in the program and an off season, right? So there's some things that he has in his favor. I think this is his third year in the program. But Howland is a guy that can be had in the portal. And you got to remember so let's say there's 15 scholarship O-linemen. I know we've been kind of light, but let's just say there's 15. Well, when there's a net loss, you know what that means? That means there has to be a net return on investment. So someone else is going to get his scholarship. And maybe it's a D2 guy who's coming up because they want an opportunity to play on a bigger scale. And we know those can be hit or miss. Maybe it's an SEC backup from another school. I hope we start to take the players from the Bamas and Georgias and Ole Misses and Tennessees of the world and not continue to take kids from Cal and Wazoo. right? Hopefully we get a higher caliber. Yeah, Ozita's locked in. His mom shared a post that he said that he is going to be moving to right guard, which I'm not terribly upset about, right? ELP's a better athlete than him and has a higher ceiling and doesn't get dominated. Ozita got dominated a little bit, but let me tell you why I like Ozita at right guard, because it means the coaches saw the same thing I saw, which is I believe Foje was the best right tackle we had at any time last year. He had those 2 plays against Missouri. Derek Simmons had 4 of those plays this season. Like, you know what I'm saying? I get it. Derek's a senior. He's a freshman. And so, they were trying to get their best 5 on the field. But Derek had flat out games where he just could not stop the Ole Miss guy. Dominated. Foje never had a game where he was just outclassed as a true freshman. And so what I saw very quickly was a guy who, in my opinion, was serviceable at guard, and on a team where you're a pup and we need to, get the biggest, value out of you your freshman year as we can. But dang, I think he was better at right tackle than Fasusi was at left tackle. I got to tell you. I think he was better. If you go back and watch the film, sans the Missouri game, which I think he plays 2 possessions and then Derek plays the rest of the game. Guys, Foje is playing against some legit DNs and we don't hear his name. Against Michigan, Fasusi was awesome. He's the difference. And Michigan has a good defensive end. But later on in SEC, we saw Fasusi get beat. And guys, he wasn't going against shop livery. He's going against D1 dudes pretty much every week. But those 2 guys as your bookends, I feel really good about that offensive line. And so, like I say, when you lose a Howland, and I forget the other kid, Belinkow, I forgot his name, kid who's been in the program 3 years, a program guy. When you're talking about backups, I guess the question I ask myself is, would I rather have 2 or 3 backup caliber dudes coming back that have been with us 3 years, or returning center, returning left guard, returning left tackle, returning right tackle, and the right guard is a dude who's played a ton of snaps for 2 years? I don't think you can ask for more than that, knowing the guys who portaled out are going to be replaced with additional depth. So now you can go, Ben Backlinko. I don't know how to say his name. But now you can go backlog it. I'd rather have the problem we have this year than the problem we've had for 3 years. All day and twice on Sunday. The offensive line is going to be a strength of the team. We have SEC caliber size on the offensive line. I'd say the only undersized guy is the center, who I'd rather have an athletic center who can get stronger, right? Versus an unathletic center who can get beat off the snap. And we know our center, if he's not playing against Ole Misses, who I think was the best D3 technique we played all year, who dominated him, right? He played well. And with another offseason and continuity, I feel good about our center. And I feel good about Ozita being a guy, which the word on the street is that Ozita is being promised a position to lock him in, and then he's going to have to compete. Which, of course, everybody's going to have to compete, right? So, O-line I feel good about. Running back. We lost Tatum. How do I feel about that? So, that's how I feel about that. Number one reason, we've got 2 freshmen. A freshman, I don't know if X is a freshman or sophomore, or was this season a freshman or sophomore, but we've got 2 returning guys who have proven they can do what needs to be done in the SEC. Number 2 is when he played, he didn't bring anything from a physical standpoint, whether it be speed, quickness, agility, power, even elite vision. He didn't bring any of those to the table. That was just like so far and beyond the others. Let me give you an example. Kennedy Brooks played as a freshman, and although he wasn't the fastest guy on the team, we saw elite balance and vision first 20 carries. Oh, Trey Sermon, Stevenson, we had NFL dudes. Kennedy Brooks kind of niched a place for himself. First 20 carries, you could see Kennedy had a special skill set. Tatum got enough carries. He's a good back. I think he's going to go somewhere and do well. I'm definitely not. But like the net difference between him and whatever his NIL was versus Hatton coming in, who we know is a big, strong SEC caliber dude that we need, plus our 2 freshmen, Blaylock and X-Rob, I'm okay with that. Let's go get a junior who just wants to make $100K the next 2 years, and if we have to put him in, he's good to go, right? We got the other freshman who coming in as well. I'm cool with the running back core. Y'all know how I feel about Barnes. I'm not going to talk smack about him. But to lose Tatum, the days of just counting your recruits' ratings as freshmen are over. We still love it. I still both post my chest out. I was a super prep and prep star All-American. I was a 4-star DB and return man. I was a DB and return man in high school. I didn't play offense. I played a little bit. But, like, that's still important to me. But, like, the way the game is played now, it doesn't matter. Indiana is proving stars and like, where you come from, college before, it don't matter. It's all about mixing that gumbo up with the proper ingredients, right? And I can safely say Blaylock and X-Rob are the ingredients for what we need, and a guy like Hatton and or others, right, can help. Yeah, hey, man, I didn't want Smothers to leave. But in fact, I knew the coach who recruited Smothers, and again, it's not my place to really speak about that stuff, but his home environment and situation was legit. I was actually speaking to the coach who was helping him clean out his room as he left, and he was in tears. Wish him nothing but the best. You know what I'm saying? He obviously had a great year this year. He deserves to get a bag. I don't know if OU's the university you go to get an exclusive bag. I guess I got a bag. But I never really had hate for Smothers because he has some legit things that needed to be addressed. And the kid was crying when it was time for him to go. First-hand information. All right, so, I try not to, again, get into that stuff so bad, but he's not one of those guys who, listen, want to hear my opinion? I think less of Barnes. But he sat down. Well, he kind of sat down because he got benched, first of all. Same thing with Kobe. Kobe and Barnes are kind of like the same player, but Kobe gets kind of treated like, oh, he kind of quit on the team. Barnes quit on the team too. Barnes got sat because he was not good enough. And then he went the route Kobe went, where it's like, hey, I'm not necessarily, I want to be a team guy. I don't know about that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Again, firsthand information. And again, the kids are leaving, so I can speak to this stuff now. I know Kendall Doby's situation intimately. Flat out. BV said to him, I got your back. I had your back when I brought you in here. I found a position for you to play. If you guys remember, Kendall Doby came in as a DB, not a nickel. His skill set suggested that he could be a cheetah type player. His position was not as such initially. BV said, hey, bro, I kind of put you in position to be successful. Trust me when I tell you, if you are willing to play some corner, play some safety, and play some cheetah, you will get reps, enough reps to be able to get what you want to get so you can play on Sundays. Kendall Doby told him to his face, I don't trust you. Or at least that's what Kendall Doby told someone firsthand who told me. So I said, hey, man, I want to make sure I'm understanding this. You're not saying you think this happened. He said, no. Kendall Doby told me that he told Coach BV, I don't trust you, even though Coach BV saw that he was a tweener and really positioned him to be the cheetah last year when that was not where he was initially supposed to be. He earned it. He definitely played well in the position, but your head coach and your right, your DC set you up for that success. And the truth of the matter, here's the truth of the matter. Scared to play corner. He felt that corner was a position that he couldn't play well enough to produce good enough film. And the place where he was going to be getting 30 to 40% of his reps was to play corner. Does that make sense? He's going to be a corner. He'll rep at corner every 3 or 4 possessions. He'll rep at safety every 3 or 4 possessions. And then he'll rep at cheetah once or twice a game. In the mix of all of that, he will get starter caliber reps, but he won't interrupt Kendall Daniels and Powers because Powers was a better, bigger, stronger, faster version of him at cheetah. Powers is as good at cheetah as Kendall Doby was. The difference is Powers played on a team with a much better supporting cast, so he wasn't, the firecracker that Doby was, where they had some holes in that defense, and Doby was able to hold stuff down. But guys, Powers is bigger, stronger, faster, and knew the position well. I don't think Powers is a great safety, by the way. Really good cheetah. In some ways, a better cheetah than Kendall Daniels. But that doesn't matter either, right? Because BV's whole plan for Daniels was what? Daniels played cheetah, but what did he really play for us? He played Willie Backer, right? You guys understand that, right? Kendall Daniels was in the cheetah position. Why? Because it shows versatility. Again, guys, this is firsthand information. This is how our defensive coordinator, head coach, is a mastermind genius. He put Kendall in a position where when he goes on to the NFL, he can say, I played some third-level defender, and he played it relatively well. But he was an ass kicker on the second level. He's not going to play one down in the NFL as a safety. He'll never play safety. But he's going to be a guy who's going to get drafted, and teams are going to say he has safety-like qualities. Tell me that's not genius. Tell me that's not a head coach looking out for you. Which is why again, you talk about Barnes, you talk about Kendall, Doby, both of those guys, in my opinion, I don't have a ton of like, oh, I got respect for them, blah, blah, blah. Nah, and I get it. I get it, right? Kendall's going to redshirt, have another year to play. He's going to go to another team, probably get paid. He's not going to have to compete with Powers. But yeah, he could have been the dude with Powers this year because it would have been him and Powers, right? Kendall Doby's leaving. Or Kendall Daniels is leaving. Short-sighted. On the other side of the coin, Barnes wasn't good enough. Guys, Barnes was never going to be good enough. What are we talking about? Barnes was an overachiever's freshman year. By the way, he showed a ton of promise. I was like, ooh, he's going to be nice. I like him. By his sophomore year, guys, he was a jag. Again, these guys are getting paid big money. So I'm not going to hold back. It's the truth. The season's over. He left. He was a jag. And the community of people say, but he blocks well. X-Rob and Blaylock weren't the issue with blocking the second half of the season. I promise you that. Once those two guys showed that they could block and pick up a blitz, Tatum couldn't pick up a blitz. But once those two guys showed that they could read a defense and pick up, more often than not, he was expendable. Listen, I gave my DeMarco soapbox on my 10 thoughts. I'm not gonna. If you guys want to hear my feelings about DeMarco, you go listen to 10 thoughts. I'm not gonna hate on him today. How about Joe John? Let me take a sip to that. Man. And I haven't even asked if it was him asking to leave or if it was him being asked to leave. I don't know if they, I saw some publications say he got fired. I saw some that said they separated. I don't know, and I don't care. It was a good job by the coach. Sooner great or not, Joe John was a Sooner great, but Sooner stud. He was a stud. Sooner stud or not, alumni or not. By the way, he was a 49er, right? It was time. His group has been really bad for a long time. I agree. It was probably a Nagy decision. I actually agree. From recruiting to in-game performance to, I think, the death knell, and people were trying to give him props. His best player was a converted backer that BV recruited. That's not good. Not good. So I think addition by subtraction. With all due respect to him, if I see him at alumni stuff, I'm going to say, hey, man, I appreciate what you did as a Sooner player. It wasn't the best as a Sooner coach. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people felt that way about Hype. Hype was our national championship quarterback, but he's not good enough to be our offensive coordinator. A lot of people said that. So I'm not going to hold a lot of, hey, man, you got paid a lot of money to not do a good job for 5 years. True or untrue? I hear the Winton rumors. People that are in the know much better than me are saying his name doesn't have a ton of merit over and beyond wishful thinking, over and beyond a package deal with his kid, who is a freaking stud at linebacker. And to me, I don't know that it fits BV's MO. He has the track record with DeMarco. They played together in Dallas. So I think an introduction or conversation could be had. I am just curious to know if he even is interested. Does he want the grind of being a college coach versus a high school coach, which is a 4-month gig College is an 11-month gig. So for those of you wondering, I want, and I'll say it again, I'm not going to go into details, but I think DeMarco should probably be let go too. That means we probably lose Hatton. So you got to be thinking about that. But he hasn't, I mean, we can't name one running back that he recruited and developed that has been OU caliber. Throughout the years, OU, even between, obviously the greats, right? From, the guys in the 70s and 80s, even in the 90s. The 90s, OU had legit running backs. We may not have had legit teams, but the running back position has always produced. The 2000s, obviously, from Quentin on to AD, on to, that crew, right? DeMarco as a player, on to the, Mixon and P. Ryan. Like, I think DeMarco's the only coach who hasn't recruited and developed a NFL caliber dude. The best he has is Gray. And Gray was a transfer who, by his second year, was formidable. You know what I'm saying? He was formidable. But somebody said, the ghost of Kel Gundy said we should have kept me. I think it's interesting that Gibson's the guy who the whole, I'm not going to say that, the whole ninja, right? When Coach Gundy was essentially saying back to him not to say it, and then Gibson leaves, who, by the way, I love me some Gibson. I thought he was going to be a stud, but he couldn't stay healthy. Yes, Jonathan Thompson. I know people don't like this, but I don't care. You want to have proven commodities in as many places as possible? Guys, go back and look at when our tight end position was the best. Give me Stevens, who was a converted receiver during the Lincoln Riley days. But go back and look at when Kevin Wilson was the tight end coach and the OC coach and the fullback coach, what dudes came through. Go back and look at when Wilson was that at Ohio State. I think it makes too much sense. I know a lot of you guys aren't going to agree. And I saw what some of the publications are saying. The K-State, by the way, he's an OU alum. K-State's tight end coach. I wouldn't mind that. Alabama's tight end coach. By the way, they put out dudes. Alabama has put out dudes the last 4 or 5 years, and they had some good tight ends this year. So those two guys, if we can get either of them, I'm in. But guys, Kevin Wilson is not a bad grab at tight end coach. I'm here to tell you. Your tight end coach has been an ex-head coach, ex-OC, and a supreme tight end creator. He has a list of guys who played for him who are dudes. Guys, that's not a bad position. Is he old? Is he still have enough energy to compete at the recruiting component? I don't know. But I know this, the portal, you upgrade tremendously when you say Joe John leaves and he has no skins on the wall. And ex-head coach, ex-OC, ex-tight end coach extraordinaire is back. Guys are going to be looking. I'm just telling you. Guys are going to be looking. Let me see. Dude, you're like 2x4 window on my... I don't know what that means. Yeah, he is still cashing Tulsa checks. Yeah, no. See, Curry 1348, you're right, bro. And that was our first year having a pod. I yelled and screamed, how the hell is Tawee not the dude? How? By the way, he's not at Wisconsin. He's at Cincinnati now. He had a year at Wisconsin, and then this last season he played at Cincinnati, and he played damn good at Cincinnati. Oh, yeah. Kel Gundy gets credit for AD, Mixon, P. Yeah, that's all Kel Gundy guys, for sure. 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. DeMarco doesn't get credit for those guys. Absolutely not. DeMarco doesn't get credit for Ramondre. Nope. I checked. I asked that last week, and it was confirmed. Ramondre is not a Stevenson. He's not a DeMarco guy. Yeah, DeMarco's best guy is Eric Gray. That's his best guy. Let's see. So let's see. Oh, I think the other name worth mentioning is Kobe. Guys, how do we feel about Kobe? By the way, 114 people on live. Salute to you guys. Love you. How do we feel about Kobe? What's your thoughts there? I'll tell you my thought. I think most people who listen to the pod, you guys know my thoughts on Kobe. I thought Kobe was a plus player with Kip. Kip being extreme athletic, Kobe being a thumper, B gap to B gap, C gap to C. He's a C gap to C gap guy. He just can't play in space. He regressed. Oh, guys, is anyone else having issues with my video? Someone says my video is off. I don't know if that's a personal issue. Guys, give me yeah, Kobe can bounce. Let me know, guys. Are you guys seeing me okay? I see one person saying they're having issues with how my video looks. Is everybody else having that same issue, or is everybody else looking pretty cool? I haven't had anyone else say that. Let me see who said that to me. Oklahoma ganja, Oklahoma ganja grower. I got you, bro. Maybe you had one too many joints, bro. Maybe you know what I'm saying? A little levitated. Maybe you levitated. Nah, I'm kidding. Everyone else says I'm good. So yeah. Everyone else says I'm good. So I'm gonna assume I'm okay. Kobe. I appreciate he finished the season. Ganja girl, I'm laughing. I see your smiles. But Bama, it was Bama. The first Bama game. You guys remember that game? If you go back and watch our post-game pod, I was like, he looked different. If you go back and watch that, I'm like, something seems off. I have a sneaking suspicion he quit mid-year. I have a sneaking suspicion he quit. And what I mean by quit is when you're playing football at this level, the difference between I'm 100% in and 90% in is quitting. You can't play unless you're Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson at 90%, Jermaine Gresham at 90%, Sam Bradford at 90%. But when you're if I was 90%, I would never play. I had to be on edge every game to be the third or fourth or fifth receiver. I was never the focal point, ever. Granted, Mackey had his plays. They dropped. In fact, if you read the book, you're going to see some stuff they schemed up for all of us. We all had plays schemed up for us because we were in that group. But guys, I was the shortest. Twan was an inch taller than me. Kurt was 2. Dre was 2. Josh was 4. The only guy I could really beat in a race was Jay Norm, and barely. Jay Norm ran 4.47 on pro day for the pros. I wasn't beating Kurt in a race. I wasn't beating Dre in a race. And I couldn't beat Salvo in a race. Granted, you better be running 4.4 to compete with us. Now, what I had on my side was I was strong, I was hella smart, and I would do my job. And I can make some shit cook. You know what I'm saying? If you give me the ball, I'm going to cook too. And it wasn't like I couldn't cook like they could cook. My point is, Kobe McKenzie is not Rocky Calamus. He's not Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray could bust and then go make 12 tackles. By the way, Kip Lewis could bust and go make 10 tackles. Danny Stutzman could bust and go make 12 tackles. Kobe McKenzie is a guy who needed to be a cog. And if you're a cog guy, that doesn't mean you're not a starter. That doesn't mean you can't go on to the NFL and be great. We've had plenty of dudes who had better NFL careers than they had college careers along the way, right? But he wasn't good enough to not be 100% on edge. And I said it in Bam. I said, some don't look right. And we all were clamoring for Corey Heineke. All of us were clamoring for him. I think McKenzie saw it. And guys, this is all speculation. I don't have any insider information here. But I have the sneaking suspicion in a day and age where the softball team is getting paid, which Kobe's girlfriend, I don't know if it's his wife even, is a championship softball player, and the NFL and then the ball players are getting paid. He's probably made at least 100 to 150 a year. Kid's got a degree. He's probably saying, I don't want to deal with these shenanigans. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think mid-season he checked out. That's my opinion. And I only say that because, we know he had an athleticism issue. I think every year he was a guy who, relative to his peers, right? Danny Stutzman, Kip Lewis, you know what I'm saying? Now Owen Heineke, forget about it. Those 3 dudes are just, on another level than he. Even the kid, what's the other kid's name? Lewis Carter. I wish he stayed. Stud. I think he's at University of South Florida or Central Florida. But Kobe was always going to be you know what I'm saying, your thumper and not necessarily your athlete. But I just think that mental edge, I've seen it happen to too many guys. You're not the one anymore. Practice sucks. You're not getting a bunch of reps. You still got to run gassers. You still got to lift weights. You got class, and you're your fourth year in the school. You're kind of done with. You don't want to party and stuff like that anymore. You kind of want to be a man. You know what I'm saying? And now they've paid you 150 grand a year for 3 years. And I don't know what he got. I'm just kind of putting it out there. I know every player got at least 50. I believe every starter since NIL was available. If you are every scholarship player, got a $50,000 check minimally. I think he checked out. And unfortunately, he cost us some possessions in the playoff game against Bama. He played like he wasn't 100% on edge, and that's unfortunate because there were some plays to be made and had that he just didn't make. And so I think I wouldn't be mad if it came out that it was mutual. I think it's pretty clear that he wasn't going to be promised a starting position. And I think at this point, being a starting caliber backer at OU will merit him. I mean, what would a Colorado State or North Carolina? North Carolina's going to come up. How much would they be willing to pay for him? They'd probably pay him $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to come. So yeah, that whole different piece of the pie, it makes a difference. I don't think we miss a beat. I love Nesta. I think Nesta's a thumper who I think is a better athlete than Kobe ever was. Nesta's a guy, AB gap, he's going to cancel his gap. By the way, Nesta's going to cancel his gap better than Kip. Kip's a Willie backer. Everybody knows that. By the way, better than Stutzman. Stutzman's also a Willie backer. Stutzman's in the NFL position as Willie backer, right? Stutzman and Kip were two great athletes, great football minds playing, but Nesta's a Mike. And I heard Nesta is quitting. Oh, good. I hope he does. He needs to strictly play football. Nesta's a dude who is a true Mike backer and has that thumper in him that we did not have this year, sans Kobe, aside from Kobe. Nesta's a guy I think is going to come in, and I think Nesta's going to be bona fide. Now, Owen Heineke comes back, then you're going to see a lot of rotation. And you're going to see Kip playing a ton because they're going to showcase him for the NFL. But assuming, and I think Owen Heineke comes back, if the NCAA penalizes a kid for playing another sport during the, in and around the COVID area, after all the precedent they've set with the guys who've been able to, have extra years, I'm going to be pretty disappointed in them. That's going to be lowbrow for sure. But I feel good about the backer position, assuming we get one or two more guys in the portal. So let's see. We talked O-line. I would prefer to have 5 starting SEC caliber starters than to have depth. Everybody's like, we don't have depth. I don't think anybody's going to have a ton of depth. We've got guys who were recruited, who are not leaving, who we don't know yet, who are program guys coming up. So I'm not so concerned that just because we don't know who they are, they don't have guys already coming up. And the portal is designed to bring in one or two. I don't know. I think they're probably going to go 2 or 3 portal guys. I'd say 2 minimally. And I just think it's better to have 5 guys who are good and bring in some guys from smaller schools to be added depth. I didn't like it when we were bringing in guys from smaller schools to start. I have a problem with that. We need a Georgia guy. We need an Ole Miss guy. We need an Ohio State guy. But we've got starting caliber guys. Here's one thing. I'm a hot take. It's not a hot take. It's if they were DMack, they should. You guys ready? If I have my say, we'd scrap the RPO. Scrap it. What was a huge difference between Indiana and us? It wasn't the caliber of player. You know what it is? When Indiana's O-line calls a run play, they O-line have free reign to move the guy as far as they want. They know it's a run play, move the man in front of you. It's not an RPO where there's ifs and thens and if and thens and if and ors, right? Oh, you shuffle for 2 steps. Don't get too, nah, man. Hey, dog, we run an inside zone, latch on and run his ass. Hey, dog, we're running a gap assignment. Get that zero technique out of there. We need to scrap the RPO. That doesn't mean we don't have like a zone read play. A zone read is RPO. We should have a zone read. I'm not saying that. But our running game shouldn't be predicated on run pass options within the play because the variable is the offensive line. You know what the other variable is? It's your freaking quarterback. Do you guys know how many times Mateer missed the read? I stole money. But I want to say it was a home game. I don't remember who we were playing. It's not my job. But Mateer gives the ball to Ott on an RPO. Mateer keeps the ball. Pisses me off. If he just hands it off to Ott, we might get a chance to see what Ott can do. They run an outside dog, which means it's a zone blitz. The edge defender is blitzing, which is perfect for RPO to that side because the running back's already in the hole. They're rotating because they're bringing coverage. The safeties are rotating, so the play side safety is rotating, which means he's not filling. He's coming from a bad angle. Oh, it's out the gate. It's out against the safety, 12 yards up the field. We're going to see what he can do. Mateer keeps the ball. Missouri, you remember? I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So, in my opinion, we need to scrap it. We need to have a zone read play. We need to have a power pass. But here's the deal. You call power pass when you intend to pass. I don't want to have a 50-50 split and the quarterback's making the read. No, OC. Set the game up so we see that they're jumping. So the next time we run it, we can assume they're jumping. That's what Georgia does. That's what the best indicator is Indiana. They do not have the talent we have. They have a coach who has a very clear standard for what he wants. It reminds me of Bob. I know everybody brings up Nick Saban because he was on his staff, but it reminds me of Bob. Read my book. When you guys read my book and you guys see how Bob was, like you're going to understand there was just no negotiations. There was no negotiations. Hey, guys, this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is how I want to see it. Let's get her done. What are we talking about? Somebody's calling me. Like, that's how we ran it. And it's cool, right? We go with what we got, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, like, we have to own what happened. Yeah, don't talk to me about that pick six, bro. He got tricked. I don't want to talk about the pick six. Goes to Kel Gundy. We don't want to talk about the pick six. Listen, I'm not about to get on the Mateer hate train. I said how I feel. I wish we would go after the best possible prospect. I wish we would tell Mateer to his face he didn't play well enough to be guaranteed a starting role. We will be more than happy to have him back, but he needs to compete. I understand that you can't necessarily do that. Well, I can't say that because a lot of other schools have. Georgia did it. Georgia told their starting quarterback, you're not good enough, bro. Take whatever money Miami's giving you. I know the whole Miami gave him five. Georgia, if Georgia wanted to keep him, you don't think they would have kept him? What's the kid's name before him? Stetson Bennett? You think if Miami offered Stetson Bennett the money, Georgia wouldn't have kept that kid? The kid who made all the key plays when it mattered the most? What? Absolutely. I, in my own opinion, believe that we could improve or put him in a position where he doesn't have guarantees. Again, I'm not going to go back to beat up the kid, but Beck went to Miami, but Stetson Bennett is the guy who I'm talking about 2 or 3 years ago who played. I think he's the backup in maybe the Chargers now. But stud, undersized dude, kind of like a walk-on third-teamer guy. Some guys got hurt 1 year, and he had to step up as a junior. Took the team to the Natty, right, or to the playoffs. I think they may have lost at the end of it, but took his team deep into the playoffs. Anyway, point is, I like Mateer. I don't love Mateer. I wish he had competition. I said my thoughts on Hawkins. I thought in season, having Hawkins was a good. I think Hawkins should have got a bigger shot. Everybody talks about the one play Hawkins had where he throws to Keontae's late. Guys, he just throws the ball late. Yeah, it's abusively late, but it wasn't like he did something terrible. It's a great throw. He caught the ball. It's just out the back of the end zone. Right? It's a freshman do stuff like that. I guess he's a sophomore, but like, guys, Hawkins Tell me what Hawkins did that was so much worse than Mateer. Or better yet, tell me what Mateer did that Hawkins can't do. That's the better question. Tell me what we saw Mateer do this year that if Hawkins got all the first team reps, that if Hawkins got to play against some of the cupcakes to get himself up to speed, that Hawkins couldn't do. Somebody tell me what we saw Mateer look just as bad as Hawkins. He had a chance against the team that we beat by like 30. You know what I'm saying? Like, didn't Mateer have chances against teams that we lost to and teams we lost in spite of him? Like, for real, like, let's be honest. I'm going to call you back. Let's be honest. And again, this isn't hate, but like, Mateer didn't play well enough to be Baker Mayfield coming into his second year, and there's no clear other competition. He didn't play well enough to be Sam Bradford after the year he beat out the kid from Michigan State and whoever else was the high caliber. Like, you know, Sam was the lower recruit. We had a high caliber guy, and then we had the Michigan State kid. Mateer didn't. The plays Mateer made after his injury, guys, most of his big plays were schemed up. QB run, he made some plays, but we don't think Hawkins can make plays in QB run. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand how everybody's like, Hawkins had every chance in the world. No, he didn't. Hawkins played on the worst offense we've ever had since I've watched OU football, including probably worse than the offense my redshirt year in 98, his freshman year. His true freshman year, I think, in terms of talent, 100% the worst offense we ever had. He got some mop-up duty week 1, week 2, I believe. Right, didn't look great. Mateer looked really good. And then he played against Kent State, was it? Guys, he throws a great touchdown to Satania. He scrambles to the right. The whole play, the whole X-Route play that everybody wants, right? Do you guys want to argue me that he should have thrown the X-Route? He has a scramble to the right side on their sideline. He throws it to Satania. It's kind of underthrown, but it's kind of thrown where it needs to be for Satania to catch it and the defensive player to not be in the play. And it's a touchdown. And then he throws 2 ticks too late to Keontae on a red zone post. Cusp, I think it's like the 25-yard line, maybe, right? 25, 28-yard line. So cusp of the red zone. It's a tick or 2 late. Keontae has a terrible injury. But someone tell me what we saw Mateer do, especially after his injury, that Hawkins can't. I will wait. Hawkins gets all the first team reps. What did Mateer do that Hawkins can't? He threw the ball a tick and a half. So if we're 10 yards farther back, what are we talking about? He threw it late. Okay. I got you. Yeah, like he threw it late, guys. He threw it late, and we don't have a pad up. You know what I'm saying? That's partly our fault too. We don't have a pad. We have a short end zone, no pad, right? Anyway, my point is, and I agree, Smokey. I agree with that. He's what? Oh, he's with his coach. That's interesting. That's interesting to hear. Talking about Mr. Dilligaff. And I'm not advocating for Hawk. He left. Let's throw him a peace out on the way out. Let's give him a moment of silence. Okay. So I'm not saying, oh my God, the sky is falling. Blah, blah, blah. What I am saying is in season, Mateer got chances. Guys, we don't beat Tennessee if we don't have the best kicker in America, a pick 6, and a defense that is, well, our secondary was terrible that game, but like continue to put pressure on Aguilar. We don't win that. We don't win the game because of Mateer. Guys, we don't beat Bama because of Mateer. If Hawkins is in those games, granted, I think what needs to be stated is he can't turn the ball over, because during those games, Mateer stopped turning the ball over. Thank you, Jesus. And so that's part of why I think they stayed with him, because we weren't right. He was turnover. By the way, he was very turnover prone his first 4 or 5 games. He had a turnover every game prior to the injury, up until the injury. Every game he had a turnover. Fumble against Auburn, picks against earlier in the season, Texas. Lord knows he played terrible. He had a turnover every game prior to the injury. So the continuity part, the experience part, but like, we didn't win those big games because of him. We won those big games because we had a defense and special teams. Period. So, John Robinson said, "You're killing me." Yeah, not to beat a dead horse. Mateer can get better. I look forward to seeing his improvements in the offseason. The thing that just scares the hell out of me is his mechanics. Guys, he throws the ball directly into the helmets of opposing defenders on unders. Under routes, meaning like a shallow route. Our guys are running a 2-yard underneath the second level defenders. He'll throw it into the defender's helmet. He throws sidearm for no reason. When he escapes the pocket, the X-Rob throw, he has to he's both of his feet are in the air and he's spinning the ball. Why? Why? Those things scare me. You guys are saying that that's his thumb. That's not his thumb. So he needs a tech coach. I don't know why my nose is itching like crazy. We need to get a tech coach for him. He knows the offense. He's a plus athlete. I like him running the ball. Let me say about him running the ball though. Did anybody else notice there were times where he could get more yards and he tried to juke somebody else? And it works sometimes. Sometimes he gets the extra juke and he can get out the gate. But sometimes, especially as a quarterback, 3rd and 6, right? You get to 3 or 4 yards and you just lunge. You find the little space and you get through the hole. Georgia's quarterback's really good at it. Indiana's quarterback's really good at it, right? Just get what you can get. Keep yourself healthy. Head first, right? Away from the contact. But there's some times where it's like it's 3rd and 3. He gets 2 yards and he can get the next yard and he sticks his foot in the ground and juke another guy. Bro, stop juking and get the damn first, man. Let's live to fight another day. Receiver. I think receiver is a position where if we have the opportunity to get a luxury player like a Cam Coleman, we need to go after it. But otherwise, we're good. Running back, we're good. O-line, we just need depth. Tight end, we need to overhaul. It'll be interesting to see who the coach is. I like the idea of the Bama or the K-State coach and bringing one of their guys. Bama has great tight ends. K-State has great tight ends. If we can get one of those guys and they can bring their guys and they've got the pedigree, when you look at their credentials, both guys, Lepek and I forgot the Bama's guys, they got credentials. So if they could bring a guy with them, I'm in on that. On defense, obviously losing Strong, we've got to figure out what's next. I didn't see another freshman. That doesn't mean there isn't another freshman biting, right? Those boys could have had another freshman ready to go at the D tackle position. But if we had Stone, Jaden, and Strong solidified, and then we brought in a guy or developed a guy, I thought that position was good. But we definitely need a D tackle. I'm excited about Okoye. I said it before and I say it again. Okoye has the highest ceiling I've seen at D in a decade. He's got a higher ceiling than RMT. RMT was just a productive dog. But Okoye could be an NFL dude. Okoye looks like Ohio State's dude. I forgot his name. Ohio State has a dude who's the number 1 overall prospect this year, defensive prospect. Okoye looks like he could be that guy. DMack, nothing against you, boy, but I love it when it's just you. That's hilarious. Smokey, I'm not going to read that out loud. I just read what you said. I'm going to leave that one. D ends, we need depth. MJJ leaving, RMT leaving, Wine and Okoye coming back. Oh, by the way, PJ is a guy who, oh God, he should drive me crazy. He's gotten better, man. PJ as your 3rd or 4th DN is solid. We got some young puppies coming up at the DN position. Backer, Owen Heineke is going to let us know what we need. I think Nesta steps in and is a good player. 17, I forget his name. He's a better athlete than he is, Backer. And listen, I didn't love him last year because he was the 4th best by a large margin, but he got a ton of snaps. And this will be his 3rd or 4th year in the program. I'm excited about Samuel next year. That's why you keep a Samuel around, right? I mean, guys, if you watch the pod, you know damn well I was very keen to watch Samuel because he was a lot of times the guy making mistakes. But I know how much better you get watching film. Getting stronger, the game slows down. And last year was his first real year as a backer. He was a cheetah and other things, and then a puppy the year before, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing what Samuel brings to the table next year. I think having him back is a big deal. Ghost, I see your question. I'll get to you in a second. Anyway, I'm not going to pay attention to you guys. Backer, I think we're in good shape. We'll probably need, I would love to get one bona fide. I think the kid from Colorado State, I don't mind him. He's a good player. But there's a lot of on the cusp Big Ten and or SEC caliber dudes. I don't want no dudes from the Pac whatever. I don't want no dudes from the WAC whatever. I don't want no. I'll take a couple dudes from the ACC, Clemson or one of those schools. I wouldn't be terribly upset with one of those guys. PJ's, I would say Ethan was more productive than PJ. PJ's a better athlete and strong, but Ethan Downs was strong as hell, by the way. I think Curry, I think PJ has more, what's the word? I think he's PJ provides more potential for disruption. Ethan Downs was a guy where if the tackle knew he was a bigger, stronger guy, Ethan Downs could kind of be nullified, but it still wouldn't mean Ethan Downs would miss his assignment, right? PJ is a guy who you can trip on a bootleg. You can run a reverse, or if you got him in space, you could shake his draws off. Ethan Downs was a guy who, he could get dominated by bigger, stronger guys, but Ethan knew how to do his job very well. So I think they're different. If you made me pick, I'd pick a PJ just because of potential. But if we're playing a big time game, if we got one game to win and I've got RMT on the other side or Wine on the other side, I'd probably pick Ethan over PJ because I don't want to have that player who could potentially get picked on some type of action, things like that, right? But PJ's gotten better and we'll see. He's got a whole nother year to play even better. He may be a better version than Ethan this year. I definitely don't disagree with that. Corner, sign me up. Haven't talked about this. Sign me up for corner, guys. Sign me up for, you guys already know what I'm going to say. Guillory and Jacoby. What are we talking about? 2 SEC guys. Am I tripping? Go back and watch. By the way, even the play against Bama, Jacoby is there, and I don't think it's a catch. I don't think that's a catch. I know he catches it kind of, but because they went to the ground, he kind of lost it and then kind of got it again, and then he lost it again. Bama had the momentum. I think if we're up 10 and that same play happens, they don't give him the catch. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm being a sore loser. I really like Jacoby. I've been told on multiple occasions, firsthand information, best cover corner on the team. He's just soft in run support. Hey, dog, what are you, 3 years in the program now? You better muscle up and be a grown man. And if they run your way, make a play. To me, Eli Bowen makes so much sense as a pass game nickel. Like, I love Eli. I watched his high school film and was like, dude is honey badger. And since getting to D1, he's clearly, the moment's not too big for him. Problem is, more often than not, the SEC receiver is too big for him. It's just biology. And if he is our starter, I have a good friend who sent me a DM. I can't say the player's name, but about a DB, and could be staying or going. I'm not going to say. But anyway, they were saying they were at a game, and a good friend of his played college football, is 5'9", was a corner, and he's taller than Eli. Like, dude, we can't have a starting corner that's 5'8" ¾ That's just a mismatch that we can't afford to have. It just is. And I think he's a guy who deserves a play. I think he could play Hardy's position and we wouldn't miss a beat. I think he could play Hardy's position better than Hardy. And Hardy played better the second half of the year. But Hardy's an undersized safety, 5'5", 10.5, 5'11", 187, right? Yeah, when we say. I think Eli can all day and twice on Sunday play with his brother at safety and be a problem. Especially if we've got Guillory, who's 6 feet with long arms, and Jacoby, who's 6'1" with long arms. Now we've got the corners that we don't have to worry about the super size differentiation. The safeties can come in and just attack the football. Man, and a sub-package guy. You got power, 6'1.5", 210, 205. To me, that makes sense. Eli's a great tackler. That's why I think he could do well playing at the third level at a safety, whole defender position. right? Passing down. We can't have him in on 1st and 10 and run right at him. But if it's 3rd and 7, if it's 1st down, he's high safety, right? Peyton kind of comes down. If it's 2nd and 3rd down, he's in the hole, guarding the slot as a corner. So now we have think about we're playing Bama and that 4th down where they run that corner out and Hardy can't even get there. Imagine if that's Eli, right? Like Eli's probably in his hip pocket. I would want Eli trying to guard a slot defender on 3rd and 4th and long versus Hardy, who's always playing high and doesn't really, right, oftentimes take on defenders in space. To me, that just makes too much sense. I will say, and I heard this firsthand, they're looking at it. I'll be able to say I said it first. I said it last year, damn it. But I think Eli is a guy. I think there's enough film out for us to self-study and say, you're a stud. We love you. We'll use you at corner if we need you, but we're gonna move you into some sub packages. That's my opinion. Yeah. Somebody said 5'8" versus 6'3" to 6'5". Like, what are we talking about? Gentry sucks. Not Gentry sucks. The idea that Gentry is leaving sucks. If this isn't the NIL era, he stays. But the fact of the matter is, listen, guys, we can't afford to pay him $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, and then he plays 3 games. But guess what? Some other team can risk paying him $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 and hope he's their shutdown, lockdown guy. But we've got other guys who played relatively well, and we've got other avenues where we got to spend money, right? So I think I get both sides. I don't think he quit. Maybe he faked the other shoulder injury. I haven't heard anything, so I guess that's possible. But it's just part of the game now. I don't take it personal that Gentry's leaving. Gentry loves OU. Gentry wanted to be here. Gentry just can't stay healthy. We can't afford to keep paying him. And if someone else wants to, he can't not take the money, especially if he may not even make it to the NFL. Someone's going to pay him $250, $350, whatever for next season. He needs to take the money if that's going to be an option for him. So salute to him. I think we're okay. We've recruited corner well. We've got some big time corners that we're close to closing on now. Safety, I like Eli. I like Peyton. I like Powell. By the way, Peyton used to hear me call him a 5-star Jag. Somebody got mad at me. I said, wait a minute. A 5-star Jag is not the same as a regular Jag. A 5-star Jag is a dude who's a 5-star that we think we're going to be a superstar, but, not killing it for a 5-star. 5-star Jag is not a Jag. A Jag is a dude who's on Scully who never plays or is on punt team and whatever, right? Kickoff team, but never plays. Peyton was never that. I was just making fun of the fact that he was underachieving. He clearly heard me from Tennessee on, bald. He's going to be a preseason conference guy. Peyton will be. Big plays against Bama, first time. Big plays against Missouri. Big plays in the playoff game. Peyton Bowen played extremely well. Somebody said Mendoza's a young Tom Brady. I kind of agree. All right, guys, let's do 5 minutes of Q&A. I've been on for an hour and freaking 48 minutes. I think we went through all the position groups. Running back, let me see. Yep, safety, corner, backer, D-line, D-end. O-line, tight end, we need to overhaul. That's pretty clear. We're going to come in with a new coach. Running backs, I think we're okay. We bring in a guy. Quarterback, we got a guy. I'm going to support him. I just don't fully trust him. DMack, let's go. Let's get to receivers. Your thoughts on the portal? Yeah, I'm a big believer. Well, let's think about it. Here's a couple things to think about. Arbuckle does a thing similar to the Leach stuff in the sense of how he deploys his receivers. We saw very similar expectations of his ex, which was Keontae, Jermichael, and Giovanni. We saw them generally run the backside post, the backside corner, the backside out, right, which is the X stuff. We saw the slot receiver, which was Satania 99% of the time. We saw him do the junk routes, right, all of the read and react stuff. And then we saw the Z receiver, which was Burks. So we know he deploys his receivers very similar to how Leach did. And I say Leach just because it makes it easy for me to understand the responsibilities. One, who's going to be our Z. I think Kearney is a great option for a Z. I don't think we move Satania. I think we keep him in the slot at H. Like we had Burks at H last year when we moved Burks to Z. And I think Burks is a better H than Z, but not as good at H as Satania, right? So it'd be fun to see who's our Z receiver. I like our X's. I like Jermichael Carter. I like him. I might like him more than Keontae. Keontae has played well against subpar opponents, but he always looked a little gun shy to go be physical, and Carter didn't. Giovanni was a guy who I heard all these great things about. I didn't see it. I don't see like wow athleticism. Of course, we got the young guys Choice and ET. I heard a ton. I never got out to Norman to actually see them, to see what they could do so that I can make a critique. And I didn't see enough of them to make a critique based on game film. But yeah, I think we need a bona fide one. And yes, Curry, we do not deploy receivers in a way that's advantageous. If I was a 2 at OU, I'd leave, with all due respect. When I was at OU, we always deployed 5. Always. We would have XYZ and then an X8, a ZH and an XZ. A person who could play X and Z and a person who could play H and Z. Always. And all of us got 30 plus. I don't think I ever had a game where I got less than 30 reps, except for Colorado my freshman year, because I got my ribs blazed. I caught a pass, didn't see him. Thank God he's the smallest guy on the field, 5'8", 185 or 175. His name is Damian Wheeler. I'll never forget him. Got a cup of coffee in the NFL. We ran an under route, or we ran a mesh concept, man-to-man. I bump my man. I'm wide open. And Leach apologized because he didn't run F-wheel. If we run F-wheel, he's got to carry the wheel. We just ran the play, so the Q's running an arrow. He sees me coming across the formation. I never see him. And he blazes my ribs, and I stay out the rest of the game. Coach, I'm not going back in. It's the only time I didn't play 30 reps, and I got blazed. If you go back and watch that game, he had me. There's an article of me 3 feet off the ground. My body's parallel to the ground. The ground's here. I'm here. It looks like an equal sign. Head on to the ball, though. Head on to the ball. I don't know why we don't deploy more guys now. I have no idea. And I'm a Jones guy. I coached at Cedar Hill. I know all about the I-20 corridor. I'm still tight with those coaches, Lancaster, DeSoto, Dunk. In fact, I'm not going to do it, but I was thinking about going back and coaching in the I-20 corridor. I'm thinking about moving back to Texas. We'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. But if I go back and coach, I'll probably coach college, to be honest with you guys. I don't know if I'm going to coach high school. I think we need a one. Any other questions? Did you see that Pete Golden reached out to BV for his opinion before the game yesterday? Oh, man, I didn't see that. Salute to Coach Golding. I think he played his tail. His guys played hard for him, man. You can tell Ole Miss wants to prove that Lane Kiffin wasn't the end-all, be-all. I think Chambliss is staying in Ole Miss, too, which I told y'all before we played them. I watched an Ole Miss game, and it just happened to be that game where they were trying to force feed number 7, and Chambliss had to come in. I was like, this dude is way better than the main guy. And Chambliss is going to be a first-round draft pick. If Kyler Murray can be, Kyler Murray was number 1. But the way Chambliss plays the game and his arm talent with his ability to run, Chambliss is going to be a first-round kid next year. 100%. Especially with the talent they have coming back. Shout out to Golding and shout out to him and his team for really rallying behind him. I actually really like seeing that. How do you feel about the high school receiver resign? Oh, Pettit's a beast. Pettit has the highest ceiling. I know people like Choice and ET. I think Pettit's better high school player. I think Pettit's a better high school player than ET and Choice. And I love Choice. Choice is Lancaster, right? ET is Edmond. Is that right? ET's an Oklahoma kid. Choice is the Lancaster kid. My buddy was the head coach at North Crowley. By the way, he just got the job at North Texas. My buddy just got promoted from a high school coach to a D1 coach. Yeah. So he's kind of following in the same as Texas Tech's coach. But anyway, I think Pettit could play next year. Pettit's really good. Really good. Yeah, Chambliss reminds me of Kyler, just not as explosive. I agree. I don't know how you are still living in California and back. Oh, don't do that, Smokey. Come on, man. Let's just say I know how to navigate Cali. I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I'm an entrepreneur, and second of all, my company is incorporated in Texas. I ain't crazy. Third of all, we own property here, so I promise you, if you own property in Cali, you're doing all right, especially in the Bay Area. If you own property in the Bay Area, you're doing pretty good, and we own our property outright. So God is good. God has blessed us. But I spend a lot of time in Dallas. I just don't. I don't have a residence there right now. We moved last year. Let's see. Nagy didn't sound too thrilled about the high school receiver development. Yeah. I'll tell you this. Everybody was excited about Pettit. I think overall, right? High schools are playing slant fade, bro. It's all RPOs. So like they're just trying to get guys in space. There isn't a lot of route tree running and really complicated concepts anymore. They try to out athlete you. They slant fade you and then they RPO you. And it kind of watered down the position. BBs. A lot of people don't like Beatonbow. I'm talking to Magot. I believe Beatonbow coached well enough to get his job. The OU insider community, I'd say it's 80-20. They don't like him. Let me just say, I think this was a big year for him to prove his worth because of recruiting and last year's debacle. But the freshmen showed so much promise. Here's the unfortunate thing. Alabama was able to beat us in the second half simply by putting our guards, 2 freshman guards, EPL and Foje, in positions where they had to read stunts, where they had 2 guys lined up outside of them. So they had a lot of cross faces and they didn't know how to handle it. And that's something you clean up in one offseason. That's not something I'm like, oh my God, they're going to suck at it forever. It's just something, if you're a puppy and you haven't had a lot of film, Alabama changed their entire front. They either overloaded one side, 3 versus 2, or they had the tackle and the end outside of the guard, and the guard was having to sink and read inside or outside in. It's hard. It's hard, and they'll practice at a time and be great. Yeah, I think ET and Troy should have both saw the field. They killed the quarterback position. Yeah, RPO. I told you guys I think we should get rid of it. It should be a play. It should not be our scheme. Does that make sense? Again, a great example is zone read should be something we run on occasion to read the end, where we have the option to the quarterback can give it, can run with it, or run power pass. And I think we should run it with the intent to pass. In other words, we set that up to be a play where we show ball, quarterback passes the ball. I don't think our scheme should be predicated on the quarterback having all these reads post snap. Because like I said, Indiana, run play, move the man. Pass play, create a wall. Oklahoma, RPO, the line never knows if they can just dominate a guy and push him 5 yards, 7 yards, 10 yards down the field. Very few plays are just bona fide, right? Unless we're running like midline or just like dive, which again, right? You've got 6 on 6. There's no clear defined hole versus if you're running a clear power or you're running, right? A guard tackle counter outside zone and you're running a wham block to clean up the backside. That's all man on man, move a guy down the field, running back, run a daylight. To me, we need to do more of that. And it needs to be our game plan to do it, not the change up. Yeah, O-line got better. Get rid of the RPO. Okay, you guys are agreeing with me. Any other key questions? I got a minute left. Anything else, guys? Crazy that 100 of you guys are still on 106. We're up to like 125 or something like that at the highest. But I love you guys for that. I'm going to do this once a week. So here we go. Last minute. I'm writing a book. I finished the book. All right. I said this earlier. If you missed it, I am going to do something especially for the YouTube subscribers. So what I am going to do is my goal is to create an Amazon bestseller book. Okay. And in order to do that, you have to have reviews before you drop the book. So my book is in editing. It should be done in the next 3 to 4 days. What I'm going to do, if you have to be a subscriber to this channel, is I'm going to give 30 of you guys a PDF. I'm not going to give you the book. Okay. But I'm going to give you a PDF. I'm going to give you a PDF of the book. And the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is to read the book in its entirety, and you have to leave a review. If you think it's a 2-star, give me a 2-star. If you think it's a 3-star, give me a 3-star. If you think it's a 5-star, by gosh dang it, give me the dang 5-star. All right. And so what I'm going to do is next week, I am going to provide exact details on how to participate in that. I didn't put it in the description, but guys, the website, if you're interested in the book, there's 2 excerpts that I give you information on the book right now. If you just go to crimsonredoctober.com, the excerpts, everyone who's read them said they're awesome. Please read them. All right. And they are in the actual book. Okay. Those excerpts will give you an idea of the book. The book is 11 chapters plus a prologue and a end of the book, kind of a couple of things at the end to wrap things up. It's over 130 pages. I intended to do 50, but they told me if I want to do a book, it needs to be a minimum 100 pages. So I stretched it out. What I did is add more content. I added more games. So there's more in-game information, in-game stories, scenarios, some funny stuff that I think people have never heard that you guys are going to be very interested in reading. But I'm excited about it. I've had a couple publishers reach out, and if we're able to do a good job, they want to do some things future down the road, which I'm excited about that as well. And then last but not least, guys, I'm going to start doing a newsletter. So for 2026, free of charge. I'm not trying to charge and make money off this. I just want to continue to build a platform. I am going to take a lot of what I do on video. There are a lot of people who just want to do written version. So I'm going to write a written newsletter about recruiting. And I am not an insider, and I am not going to start like going to high schools. I work with Brandon and Parker. They do a great job. I'm just going to see a lot of what they talk about and kind of put my own interpretation on different recruits, what's going on in the program. I have contacts. I don't call them my, what do people call those guys? I don't have I forgot the word they use, but I know people in the program, and I can ask questions and, give my opinion on things as it relates to those things. But I just love doing this, man. I'm having a great time. I said it before, and I'm not afraid to hide it. I've been doing this 3 years. They actually pay me to do this. Now I have a company. I own a business, a couple of businesses. So this is not how I pay my bills. God, no. But it is something that has transitioned from a hobby and a passion project with Barry to, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. And I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because I think Oklahoma needs to continue to be discussed. I think the inside nuances of what's happening that is an unbiased eye needs to be addressed. And people have said they want to see it. And so I appreciate you guys for that. We've just passed the 2 hours. If you haven't already, please go read the excerpts, do a pre-sale. The books are $14.99 pre-sale. They will be $20 because of shipping. So when February 1st, when I drop the real book, it's going to be an actual book. It's not an ebook. They are going to be a $20 book. So if you get it now, it's cheaper. In the first 200, I'm at like 170 maybe, and maybe I have 30 left. I'm going to sign it. All right. So you'll get a signed copy of it. But I'm proud of the work. It's all real. There's no, if it's in the book, it happened. Somebody might have a little bit different version based upon what they felt, but like these are the things that truly happened that year. And it's obviously concerning us really preparing for and then experiencing that 3-week window where we went from Cinderella, kind of who is this team, to the number 1 team in America, beating number 10 Texas, beating number 2 Kansas State, and then beating number 1 Nebraska for all the marbles in Norman. All right. Appreciate you guys for everything. This was an awesome deal. I will be back next week. I'm going to make a schedule so that people know when I'm going live. I'll be on the Barry and Mac channel. Pray for Barry. I honestly, I haven't heard from him in a week. And so I'm going to try to get in contact with him. I would expect for us to be back up and running. I saw some of the comments, but I would be expecting us to be back and running. But I'm doing DMack's locker room anyway. So I'm going to be doing some personal stuff, some interviews, some recently graduated players, and some OGs, keeping you guys abreast on what's happening with the university. God bless. Love you guys. Happy holidays. Happy New Year's. Hopefully you had a Merry Christmas. Spent wonderful time with your families. Love you all. God bless. And of course, take care.